Hey, we're talking about the Hemlock. Now, hopefully if you're watching this video, the Hemlock is available like it is for me. It's only going to be here for 6 more days, but the Hemlock has come to the shop. Now, this might be what's happened to you and why you've clicked on this video, and if that's not you, then congratulations if you have the Hemlock schematic. This came out in like 2018 through the Winter Llamas, but it has not re-released since. We've only been seeing it in the weekly side of things since then, and unless birthday llamas are going to be providing these, in nice amounts, it seems like the Hemlock is just a tricky weapon to get. Now, whether or not you spend a voucher to get this weapon is a whole other topic. Link to that down below. Today, we're just talking about the weapon itself. However you acquired it, let's get into the Hemlock. Now, right off the bat, I'm not going to beat around the bush. It is one of the best weapons in the entire game. In fact, I was just, before watching my old video on the Hemlock to see what I said and decide whether or not remaking this video was worth it. So yeah, obviously, full disclosure, I have made a video on this weapon before, and if you followed the perks in that video, you're good. Honestly, I do have some new things to say. I think it's worth sticking around, but I like what I said in that video. I don't like how I said it. I'm not gonna, it's weird to even comment on this, but I must have been in a mood when I recorded that. I don't know. Different guy made that video. Different guy is making this one. We're gonna talk about the Hemlock with new and improved thoughts. I'm older. I'm wiser. Things have changed. So let me get back to my point. The Hemlock is a top tier weapon. People have asked me about it. If I was gonna rank it, I don't actually know where I ranked it actually in my old ranking video. Link to that down below. But I would honestly say this is an A or S tier weapon. This is a defining SMG in the entire game. And that's one of the things that gave me a chuckle, was it was actually an assault weapon back in the day, because the SMG and assault weapon split hadn't happened when I made that video. And that doesn't change anything, but yeah. So I'm going to show the perks right away because, I mean, that's kind of just, old news anyway. I'm not really holding anything hostage here. You'll note I'm not running fire rate. We'll get into that later. But one of the things I talked about in my old video was the fact that each shot fired grants shield. I have some very old footage illustrating this, where when you fire your weapon, it'll increase your shield. And that was a really, really solid perk. I used to have 5 of these, and I think I showed that in that video. But as I mentioned in my old video as well, Blast from the Past coming into the game means that most of the high-level players like myself who don't really like using Totally Rockin' Out, we use Blast from the Past, and that ups our shield by a lot. Recently, I've started using Ranger Deadeye, but the alternative, I think this is obvious and most of you should know this, would be using Rescue Trooper Ramirez. Both are perfectly fine. I prefer them in the lead because I don't like having assault crit damage in the lead. This isn't exactly an assault weapon build video, but I wanted to mention that. This is the build that I generally be running, at least, in most of my gameplay and whatnot. Now, this is really, really nice, but without the shield, that 6 perk is completely useless. And one of the things that was giving me a chuckle as soon as I started recording was I showed all of my Hemlock schematics in that video as all the each shot fire grants damage. I actually replaced most of them. I kept exactly, I think, one of them. Oh, it's gone now. Yeah, no, I did keep one because I just wanted to have it, but I replaced 4 of them with damage dealt snares, which was kind of the newer, better perk. You can see all of these still have fire rate on them. But then the magical 6th perk update came around. This one is an On Bullet Splinters copy that I've got here. I just wanted to see how that stacked up. But there is some very big news to share. Now, snare was a good option. I think that's still completely fine. If you're operating with a snare Hemlock, slowing enemies down is good. I'm not going to pretend like that's not, but it doesn't actually help with any amount of damage, and it's not a necessary perk to secure the kill. However, landing 5 hits in a row causing a small explosion is rather significant, because in the perfect world of mathematics, in the pristine environment of a whiteboard, landing 5 hits in a row, dealing 70% more damage is on average a 14% damage increase. Now, that is exclusively when you are laying into a fat target. Like if you're shooting a regular zombie that's dead before that 5th bullet, that 70% never happened. But if you're shooting at a mist monster or a fatty or a mini boss, especially if you're in a crowd of enemies where you're hitting all of the enemies around you, that single target will be taking 14% more damage overall, because it's a 70% damage boost, but you take 5 hits to get there. 70 divided by 5, you get a 14% damage bonus. Not super complicated, but that area of effect damage is nice, because if you're in a crowd of enemies like an encampment or something, just focusing on that one target, farming explosions, hitting all the enemies around you without even shooting directly at them is a really, really nice bonus to have. So as of yesterday, when this weapon came back to the shop, I don't even know what the 6th perk was. I straight up core repurked it to 5 hits in a row. Now, that is less of a serious decision nowadays because I no longer have one core reperk. I had 17, so I do kind of need an excuse to spend these, but if it's within your means, I highly do recommend a 5 hits in a row copy. Now, this is only relevant to when I'm recording this, but as of with this current Venture season, the Firestorm seems to be the deal. So it seems like they're going along this trend, Epic is, of adding different modifiers throughout seasons. So like Firestorm, for example, seems to be consistently on just about every single 4-player mission, which I personally love. I can see that, and I can now fully recommend you make a water Hemlock, and it will be good for at least until September 4th. When the new season comes around, I encourage you to look at your map, look at your 4-player missions, and if there's consistently like an ice storm everywhere or a nature storm everywhere, just change it to like nature or fire, whatever copy your Hemlock should have, just to sort of match that. Because when there are random, elements for every single 4-player, that is why you get people like me making many copies of a weapon just so we can have one element for every 6 perk. It's a whole thing. But that's okay. In the end game, we can afford that. It's not that big of a deal. What I'm just saying is it's nice to have a really good 6 perk that provides some extra damage. Now, I kind of glossed over it, but if you do have a copy with that shrapnel, it's nice. It's good extra damage. It's nothing game-changing, and I do believe the 5 hits in a row is significantly better. If you have a bunch of core reperk lying around, go for it. But if you only have 1 or 2, maybe you want to watch my video on how to spend your core reperk. Link to that down below. I do cover the Hemlock in that video as well. All right, I said I'd get into it. Let's talk about why I'm running crit rating double crit damage. Back in the day, I don't think I was wrong. I argued that the fact that you have a 43% chance to crit means that 3 of your perks are all based on a gamble. But the one thing I ignored, in fact, in that video, I immediately went on to the Spyglass and Old Betsy, and yeah, if you're shooting a sniper once per second, that's a huge gamble to run a crit build on. I still don't recommend that. But we're talking about a Hemlock here. I just casually ignored the 14 fire rate. On a non-fire rate copy, 9.9, in the interest of keeping everybody's heads on straight, let's just call that 10 shots per second. That means you are going to crit 4 times per second so long as you're laying down on the trigger with this weapon, and that is really not much of a gamble. I don't know why I was so stubborn back in the day. I think it's because everybody was always telling me how good crit builds were, and I'm like, but, well, technically, fire rate, crit rating, crit damage is the same DPS. And I'm not wrong. I wasn't wrong. And fire rate will have, like, a much quicker time to kill because you'll be shooting quicker, and that might be a nice feeling, but you're basically going to sacrifice the damage of a crit damage perk for more bullets, which is a higher damage output, kinda, but not really, and you're just going to consume more ammo. So nowadays, I've leveled out to a crit rating double crit damage recommendation, but if you still got fire rate, that'll work. I do still recommend mag size, though, because you've got a 2.4 second downtime, which is fairly significant, but there are a couple of factors. 61 bullets means you're reloading essentially every 6 seconds, which is a lot of shooting time, and personally speaking, I like to run with assault ammo recovery. If your build doesn't have this guy, then sorry, but 24% chance to refund every shot means that I'm not going to get into the math. You basically have a 31.7% overall mag size buff, and I'm going to pull out a calculator in the middle of recording. Here, let's get into it. So if we've got 61 bullets times the 1.3, we'll round up 2 bonus. You're basically getting 80 or 81 bullets in your magazine, which is a lot of uptime. You'd be shooting for 8 seconds straight if RNG is kind to you, and at that point, a 2.4 second downtime, yeah, it ain't so bad in my opinion. Now, if that is so bad in your opinion, it's no harm, no foul to just switch that mag size to a reload, but I lobby pretty heavily for mag size personally. I think it's the COD player in me. It's better to have more bullets now than a quick reload, you know what I mean? Now, if you don't care about anything I just said, you don't mind a slow reload, and you don't want more bullets, then shoot, throw on a damage perk. You will get more damage, obviously. That is its whole purpose, but I think a nice quality of life mag size reload goes a long way. But hey, if you just want the highest DPS, you don't care about anything else, the damage perk is sitting there just for you. As for the rest of the perks, I think I've already explained pretty clearly that a crit build is kind of the way to go. Whether or not you go double crit damage or crit rating crit damage fire rate, that is completely up to you. Hell, maybe you want to go nuts and go double reload. At that point, you're just having fun, and my hands are tied. You guys can just do whatever you want, but those are definitely my recommendations. So yeah, definitely a top tier weapon, definitely a good video back in the day, but I think I had some new things to add that are worth sharing. sharing. So if you guys have the Hemlock, hopefully I was able to help you out. If you guys want to, use code Mista at your checkout. Normally I'd pull up my creator code, but I've been using Archer's recently. But it's Mista if you want to support me, and Archer Ooh if you want to support him. Thank you guys so much for watching. Twitch link down below. You can get some, 10% off Advanced GG. Link to that in the description. I'll see you guys later. And then